Joining me now is South Carolina Democratic Congressman and Assistant Democratic Leader Jim Clyburn. He is also, of course, a Biden campaign co-chair and was instrumental in turning around President Biden's campaign during the 2020 primary. Congressman, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
I want to get your reaction to what we saw in President Biden's announcement video. He seemed to put the focus on former President Trump going after ultra MAGA Republicans. A lot of people saw it as taking a page from his playbook in 2020. Are you comfortable with that strategy? Is it a winning strategy?
Well, I'm very comfortable with the president contrasting himself with the MAGA Republicans, and that one in particular. But I'm also interested in him continuing his pursuit of a more perfect union. I think that all of the stuff that you hear, MAGA Republicans will give you all the headlines you want. Joe Biden's going to make headway. And that's what this is all about. Who will be out here making headlines? Who will be out here making headway? And their styles are different. But there's no substitute for substance. And Joe Biden has substance. And let them have the style.
A lot of people saw this campaign video, though, and thought, we're in for a rerun of 2020. Is that fair?
Well, that is fair. But this time, you've got a record to run on. Joe Biden was talking about what he will do. Now he's going to be able to show what he has done.
We didn't hear a whole lot about that, though, in this video. Was it a mistake? Was it a miss not to lay out what the president sees as his key accomplishments? Do you wish he'd done that?
No, I wish he would do that when he goes out on the trail. When you're doing these videos, you hitting the highlights. You can't get into the weeds, so to speak.
But he didn't even hit the highlights, Congressman, with all due respect.
I think he did. Once again, it's all about the difference in style. We need to be assured that this president has his focus in the right place. Not all over the place, but talking about what this country is all about, how he perceives himself fitting into the future of this country, what he's going to do to pass on to our children, our grandchildren, a better country. That's what this is all about.
Congressman, to that point, if he were to have mentioned one thing that you believe to be one of his accomplishments, what would that be? What should he have touted in this video?
Rescuing this country, getting our kids back in school, getting people back to work, getting people out of hospitals, putting this democracy back on track toward a more perfect union.
Let me ask you this question. Can Democrats make the case for President Biden without using the words Trump and MAGA Republicans?
Well, why should we? I think we need to talk about MAGA Republicans. You know, I do a lot of studying of history, and I've been saying that whoever put this effort together that led up to January 6th, they studied 1876. They saw what happened in 1876 and tried to replicate that on January 6th. That is because back then they talked about these radical Republicans. Today, Trump is talking about MAGA Republicans. Let's remind the people of what kind of Republican that really is.
I guess part of what I'm getting at, you've seen our latest NBC News poll, and it shows that only 41% approve of the job that President Biden is doing. Can he win this race if this is a referendum on him, on the job he's doing as president?
It is going to be a referendum on him, and he can win on that, because he's got the record to run on.
Even with numbers like that, with 41%?
Absolutely, absolutely, because right now he is out there against the, quote, generic Republican. Let's wait until you measure him against his opponent. As he always say, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative.
But these voters are just talking about his performance in this poll. This is solely focused on him. So what gives you that confidence?
Because when you dig down within the 41%, they all say they are for Joe Biden. They like the programs. They like the rescue plan, the infrastructure plan. They love the Chips and Science Act. They love the Inflation Reduction Act, the PAC Act that took veterans into a new place, the so-called first time that we've had a real good attempt at controlling safety in our communities. These are 6 bills that this president is very, very proud of. And then look at what he did for student debt, and he's continuing to do it.
You take me to my next point, which is the RNC statement, which I'm sure you saw former President Trump also responding. They said today, quote, if voters let Biden finish the job, inflation will continue to skyrocket, crime rates will continue to rise, among other things. What should the president's strategy be for countering that narrative?
Don't pay any attention to them. Look at the records. Crime is going down everywhere, in New York as well. Look at the record. Inflation on the decrease. Look at the record. Not what they say, but look at the record. And this president is going to put that record out there. And it's a record that's very clear.
I do want to talk to you about the president's age, but one analyst said today, the real wild card is not his age. It's actually the economy. Do you think that's true as we talk about inflation?
The economy is always the wild card. No matter when you have an election, no matter who the candidates might be, it's the economy, stupid. It's the economy.
So do his prospects rise and fall based on what we see with inflation, with a potential recession, which some economists say is coming down the road?
Whether we like it or not, yes. And I think that he's doing all the right things. You know, there's one thing to talk about inflation in general. It's something else to talk about people when you say, hey, I just capped your insulin costs at $35 a month. That is controlling inflationary spiral within your medicine.
Let's dig a little deeper into the numbers. Half of all Democrats, Congressman, Democrats don't want to see President Biden run again, and nearly 3 in 4 voters overall. How concerning are those numbers to you?
None at all. Once again, when you talk about this is your candidate, Biden, this is your candidate, whoever the MAGA Republican might be, that's when the comparisons come.
And I have to ask you about black voters, because currently, based on our latest poll, they are split over President Biden. Why do you think that is, and how does the president bring them back?
Well, I think that they're there. What we've got to do is remind these black voters who kept all these HBCUs afloat when COVID-19 shut them down. It was Joe Biden who did it. Who capped the insulin costs? Who rescued this economy? You've got to show people exactly what you did for them, what you did for their families, and what you did for their communities. And when you show them those 3 things, you don't have to worry about the result.
And I don't have to tell you this, because I know you've been talking about this throughout the day, but age is a top factor, a top concern for a number of voters who don't think that the president should seek a second term for re-election. How should the president counter those who feel like he is just not going to be up for the job for another 4 more years, that he might be today, but that 4 years is unknown?
Well, he shows that age may do something about style, but with age comes substance. And that's what this president is going to be able to show. Like I told my golfing buddies, I may not hit it as long as I used to. I'm 2 years older than the president, but I'm much more accurate because I've got the experience. I know exactly how to play this course. I know where to put the ball. And so that's what you've got to learn. These people got to know exactly how to play the game, and that doesn't mean hitting the long ball every time.
So we should expect him to try to use age to his advantage, that he's going to try to say it's an asset. Okay. Let me ask you about the vice president. She appeared 11 times in this video. And as you know, Republicans have signaled they are going to train a number of their attacks on Vice President Harris. Do you think she is ready and braced for the level of onslaught that's coming her way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad to see her break out of this. You saw it down there in Tennessee. And when she went down that evening, she was in her element. They have finally decided to leave her alone. Let Kamala be Kamala, and we are going to be fine. She showed it on reproductive rights. She is hit her stride. She is going to be a tremendous compliment to this campaign.
And if she needed to serve at some point, are you confident she'd be ready on day one?
Yes, I am. I'm very confident.
Okay, let me ask you about the debt limit fight. As you know, that is something that is looming large over Washington. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is trying to get a vote through the House to raise the debt limit, to cut spending. President says he's not going to negotiate. Do you think that that is the right strategy, given that we are inching so close to this deadline of potentially going over the cliff?
The president's job is to maintain security for this country, and nothing is more a part of security than maintaining the good faith and credit of the United States of America. He is not going to do anything to jeopardize that, and I don't see why McCarthy won't join him in that. If you want to talk about spending, there's a time to talk about that. We've got to do a budget, and let's talk about what you cut and what you may want to see increased, but do not run the risk of undermining the good faith and credit of the United States of America, because these are debts that have already been incurred, and we got to pay our bills.
I hear what you're saying, but Congressman, given that, should President Biden invite Speaker McCarthy to the White House to hash out a deal and to get this done?
Well, I'm sure he will when he thinks it's the proper time to do it.
You don't think that's right now?
Well, I think, if my memory serves, they've met already.
Once, and he hasn't invited him back.
Well, who knows when he may be inviting tomorrow. Who knows?
Okay. But you don't have any indication that he's coming tomorrow?
I have no.
Okay. Congressman, thank you so much for your insights. We
well,
really
thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to see you.
Very good.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.